on screen, and there I am. Welcome everybody. Excuse me. Let me move my screen to where I can see. There we go. Keep the mic. What's going on, everybody? Let me get myself mic'd up. And before I get started, let me do a couple shares. What's going on? Hope everybody out there is doing well or good or great. This is going to be a real short show tonight. This is going to be one of those small segments, even in editing is going to be very small, because all I'm going to do is just go over the main GUI screen or the front panel. Not going to really go over a lot of features in it, just explain some of the stuff in detail for somebody that may be a beginner as for what it means and how to get your workflow started. So give me just a few seconds. Let me do a couple shares. Where are you? And no, that's not the one I need. All right, there we go. Are you? And no, that's not the one I need. No. Copy. So what's going on? Who's out there watching tonight so far right now? I mean, I haven't had time to share to any groups, which is what I'm about to do now. And then we can get started. Snap. Now, also what I'm doing, for those of you, if you're watching first time, or if you watched my show before, you see that the episodes can get extremely long. So what I've done, I've gone through and downloaded all my clips, especially all the long ones. I've downloaded all of them. And then there's still some that I have that I did on Facebook before I started doing YouTube. I've downloaded a few of those, and there's still a lot more that I haven't got. I probably have maybe close to 100. I know at least over 50 that I got to go through, and a lot of them I've gone through and like chop the hell out of them, chop them to where they're under. If it was originally 4 hours, it's down now to maybe about 2.5, and then I still need to go as I get to each one, um, go through and cut some more stuff out of it, especially the live part at the end where I may have a guest or somebody speaking on, and it's not really something that needs to be for somebody that's looking for that material. So I would take it off. So there would be the actual live video, which would be in a separate list, and then there'd be like the actual edits. So if you're looking for a specific answer to a question that you have, then you can find it. Then I'm also going to have the time markers indicating, you know, at what point in the video where you can find what you did. And I didn't have time to do that either. So let me do a couple shares to Facebook. Right. All right, just did one to my timeline. Do a couple groups real quick, and I hate that I can't do groups like I used to. I used to all I had to do was just click the share button and it will share all the way through. But now I can't even do that anymore. And I don't know how to get that done. So I'm just gonna only do a few. I'm not gonna do as many as I used to do. I used to do about between 12 and 15 groups. I'm not gonna do that many. Oh, right. Let's see. Let me do one more. And then we can get started. Let's see. Is it one I'm forgetting? Let's try this one. And I am finding some that either I haven't posted to in a while or there won't be a problem with me posting to it. Try not to post to groups that um, won't let me, that will let me post to. And I think I'm about done. Yep, that's it. So right now, everything that I'm gonna talk about now is gonna be off the hip. I have actually not planned anything. So there are no banners. I will probably add the banners later as lower thirds to indicate. Actually, I use the banners just so I can put the time markers. I would know where to put the time markers. So I give some type of indication to myself indicating that I'm switching over from one thing to another. So let me, because I will need to open up Serato in order to get started. So let me open up now. What I'm using Serato, I'm doing Serato on PC. So I will be doing this on PC. The difference between Windows and PC, as for the GUI interface, there's really no big difference. The big difference is at the very top, the bar at the top of the screen. Windows have its minimize, maximize, and close on the right hand side, and Mac has its on the left side, and also I think the CPU bar is on opposite side screen, but mostly everything else is the same, which it should be, because then that gives people a better opportunity to, when they switching platforms, that they won't have to learn something different. So that makes it uh, really a whole lot better that they keep everything the same. So, all right, let me do a countdown and then we can get started. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody. This is Ken Ellis, aka the Kid. You are here now with me with Atlanta DJ Zone Tech Tuesday Live. It is DJ Tech podcast that I do every Tuesday, either 9:30 or 10:30. Basically everything DJ, anything related. That's what we do. Now, this episode right here is part 3 of a multi-part segments, and I don't know how many parts that it's going to be. It's going to be until I just get it completed. But this is part 3. If you haven't checked out parts 1 and 2, then the link, I'm gonna put the link. There's going to be something that's going to pop up here that will take you to those links. So make sure you go to that first, especially if you're somebody that's new Serato. If you're brand new Serato, you need to know, this is stuff that you need to know prior to purchasing Serato, because here's the way that the steps go. The first step is a pre-Serato preparation. What I mean by pre-Serato preparation is that everything before you get Serato, or before you actually start with Serato, that's making sure your computer specs are good, making sure that the hardware that you're getting is going to work with the software you're getting that you want to use, and that can be light, using Serato Lite versus Serato DJ Pro. So making sure that you choose the right hardware, because I see these questions daily where people are not sure that they can go and buy a controller for less than $500 and be able to use Pro. Most likely you won't. Those type of controllers are entry level beginner uh, controllers, and those you're gonna have to use Serato Lite, and if you want to use Pro, then you're gonna have to buy it. And then also, after you choose your hardware, registering, creating your account, activating Serato into that account, and then lastly, downloading your drivers and firmware to get your hardware and your software connected. Now, at that point, you have everything ready to get started. Now, the second part, the part that I covered last week, is on opening up the program and adding music and starting music to Serato. And basically what I showed there was the 2 methods of how to add music. One way was direct with no folders and creating the crates maybe later on. Then the other one is having your music on your hard drive in folders, and then making those folders into crates, and then also basically all the stuff in the crates category, and where your list of tracks are. Mostly covered all that. Now this week is covering everything above that. So what I'm going to do now, and like I said, this is not going to be long. This is really not going to be long. I'm about to open Serato now and then go through, click on each little tab, and I only need to do one side. Once I do one side, the other side is the exact same. So I only need to cover information on one side because a lot of the stuff that I'm going to cover tonight is going to be features that I'm going to demonstrate in the next coming weeks. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm opening the door and showing you to what these features on your main panel or your main GUI screen are used for and how you can use them, but we'll be going into more detail with those features in the following week. So let me go ahead and get my Serato screen open. Need to change some stuff around for a second. All right, let me move it so I can see it. And like I said, I'm using Windows. The streaming computer or this computer that I'm using right now is a Ryzen 7. And yes, you can now safely use AMD processors on Serato. They even said on their website. The Ryzen series is Intel compatible. Now, I don't know what the compatibility is with the M1 chip, but as for the Intel, they're compatible. So you can use it. I use it and it works. Now, starting off in the first of this, and let me snap so I get this to where I can edit it out. So now with this part, GUI, graphic user interface. Thank you, Eric. What's going on? I see your message that you said with Cream. I'm sporting the Wu-Tang shirt today. Wu Tang, Wu Tang. I think I'm gonna watch some Chappelle after I leave out tonight. I feel like watching some Chappelle. So what when I say GUI interface and Serato's GUI interface is different from all the other programs. All the other programs, to me, they have too much stuff. It's too much stuff going on screen. Now, if I'm using a mixer that has EQ knobs and line faders and crossfaders. Why do I need that on my screen? Why do I need that on my screen? Serato has everything on the screen that you need to use from that screen when you need to use it, if you're not accessing it directly from the controller. So why do you need all that stuff on the screen? And you know which programs that I'm talking about. It's not just one, it's several. So uh, let me put it in a banner. Now, and I have to create a new banner. So let me go out of this. I'm gonna create a new banner, and this is and let me create this banner. Oh, what happened to it? All right. All right. Now, graphic user interface, which is mostly like your main screen, which has buttons or knobs to twist or whatever. It's called a graphic user interface. It's more of and it's just exactly what it sounds. Is graphics that the user interface with. So it's basically where your controls are on your screen. I mean, anything can have a graphic user interface if there's something for you to click. If there's some type of input or whatever that you need to click on in order to get an output, then it's a graphic user interface. So let me get my screen share up so I can show you Serato's graphic interface. And here we go right here. This is Serato graphic user interface. Now, with this graphic user interface right here, this is in, and I can't remember exactly what they call this mode. It's either called single player mode or player mode, or I'm not for sure what the mode is that they call it, but I'm gonna call it single player mode. And what you're doing here, this is when you have no hardware connected. You have no controller, no mixer. You have nothing connected that will initiate your Serato license, whether you're using Lite or DJ or whatever. This is the basic mode that you can go into, and you can just, while you're out on the road or traveling or whatever, you can scan through and listen to some tracks. And I don't have a hard drive connected. So you can go through and choose any track and you can play it. All right, stop that right there before I get any copyright issues. But anyway, this is the graphic user interface. Now, what I covered over last week, I covered everything from here down. I went through all these box, your ad crates, smart crates, and I don't think I went over this one. I may have, I may not. And then how you can set your library, and then the analyze feature, and then the specials within it, and also explain how the analyze work. And then also your file, as for creating your crates, your browse, which is self-exclamatory, um, your prepare, which is a very important feature to have, and after you finish, your history, which you can pull up your whole playlist for that night or previous nights to see what you play, and you can either find those tracks to use them for a similar event or have them saved to where you could use them for another event. And then you have your search box, and with your search box right here, uh, that is for a title, which I no longer have. But anyway, I cover everything from here down. So tonight, what I'm going to be covering is everything above this. So most of the stuff that I'm going to cover now is going to be also with your actual hardware connected mode, or performance mode, that I will call it, when you have your hardware connected and you're actually in a performance environment. This right here is single player mode, where you only have access to one deck. Now, in single player mode, you can also, and this is a feature that Serato came up with, or they added, I think about maybe probably about 2.5 years ago, to where you could do a practice. If you go over here to the top left and you see it says 1, if you click on 2, it'll open up where you have 2 decks. And this should not be, yeah, it's not. This is the same as your play mode. The only differences that you have here is that you can play from within your you can play within your decks. And let's see. can play within your deck, but you can also do transitions. You can fade. You could use your crossfader, and you also have EQ and filters that you can do. Now, connecting your hardware won't allow you to do this, so you can't do this with your hardware. You won't have this access. You won't have this access with your hardware. So this is only for single play with no hardware connected. If you want to practice your mix or practice a specific blend or mix or whatever before you perform it, like if you're on a bus, a train, or you're traveling or whatever, and you want to practice something on the fly, this is the mode that you would do. And what you would do, you would just go from a single to a double. This is if you want to practice something on two, and one if you just want to scan or listen to specific tracks. And you can also go here and set up your features. And let me see which one would be best to do. Is it better to do all right, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do single mode. I'm gonna cover everything in single mode, and whatever is duplicate in double mode. And there may be some stuff that I will cover again, but I'm just going to go through single mode real quickly. And then after that, then jump to double or performance with your actual hardware connected and cover everything in detail. So let's go ahead. What I'm going to do to make it a little bit easier, and you can always do this when you have Serato, is open up help and then go to show tooltips. And whenever you drag your cursor on anything, it will tell you what that means. Plus, it will also show any keyboard shortcuts for that particular item if it has any. So let's go ahead and start. Let's start in the top left, and I'm gonna move across that whole top bar, then come down from the left and move over to the right. And this should not take it long. Now, the first bar that you have is your CPU meter. This is something that you always want to watch, and you want to make sure that that you keep an eye on it. Because right now, I don't have any hardware connected. I don't have anything going on. It's probably maybe about a quarter, maybe less than a quarter of the CPU is being used. Once you start to get into red, you may start having glitches. Your music may be glitching or whatever. The best way to eliminate this is to optimize your computer. And if you go to where you download the version of Serato, is right, I think it's right above it, there's the link for optimization. Or you can go to Serato and do a search for optimization, and it will take you to the links to where you can optimize it on Mac and PC for beginners, and then advanced steps that you can do. So make sure that you do that, because your CPU needs to be low. You don't want it to be in the red. All right, the next feature is what I just mentioned, is offline mode. Use this mode to prepare tracks for Serato DJ, set and save cue points, loops, beat grids for your track. And then to play or pause decks, use the W key. W key is for the left deck. Or you could use the space bar for the left deck if you have it in this mode right here that I have it, single player. And then S, which is right below the W key, is for your right deck. Now, here's a tip of how to remember some of this stuff easy. Now, from QWERTY, those keys, all those keys across that line are left deck controls. ASD, ASDFGH, the keys below that are for the right deck. So you're going to have left key and then right below it is for the right, left, and then what's below it for the right, and so forth. So your your top your top keys beginning with Q all the way across is for your left deck. Everything on the next line below it is for your right, and then you got other keys as well. But if you learn if you learn what's for your right, then if you want to control your left, then you just go to the next key above it. Easy to remember. All right, now also there is, okay, they call it Serato. Okay, that's right. That's called Serato Play. When you're in the dual mode, that is called Serato Play, to where you can actually play and mix, but without any hardware. You're using the GUI interface, like I said, GUI interface to control everything. And let me turn this off for a second. You're using the GUI interface, which is the crossfader, filters, the EQ, or whatever. That's your GUI interface, as well as all the buttons here. That's what you're using. So that's Serato Play. And I had forgot about that. I thought Serato Play was something else. But the same thing applies. The keys are the same. QWERTY for the left, ASDFGH is for the right. And then you got other keys like your hot keys or your numeric keys, and the lower keys. I can't remember what the lower keys are, but ZX, ZXCL, are used for another thing. All right, so then next you got your link button. Um, your link, and I've never used the link before. Link is technology that keeps your devices in time over a wired or wireless network. Any link enabled software application can play in time with Serato DJ simply by joining the same network. When using link, you can start and stop playback for each device or application independently of of every other connected device application. And I'm wondering, does the link apply to CDJs, the HID mode? Is that what they mean by that? Because I've never used the link before. When using simple sync, link enable software remain at tempo, blah 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 blah. Okay, that's one you're gonna have to add to the books of experiments. So let me pull out a card so I can start jotting down. Okay, move my cards. All right, so I'm gonna start writing stuff down that I need to be doing in future episodes. All right. Phone off, the mic came off. Pen, pencil, that'll work. So link is a mode that I'm gonna look into. So if you want to learn more about link, there will be a link posted in the top right corner where you can go to that feature once that video has been created. So let's write link with a question mark. All right, moving on. The next one, and I think this is quantize. Yep, quantize. Quantize is basically where your tracks are. It's not exactly in sync, but it's where the timing is is correct. It's not more like a real time to where if a person is doing 1 2 1 2, that count can be off to where it loops. It's not in the exact same place. Quantizing is where you're having it accurately in sync digitally. You're having either like a metronome or some type of digital device that's keeping everything in place. All right, activate. In order to activates quantize mode for cues and reloops. When setting cue points in quantize mode, they will automatically snap to the beat grid for a perfect time placement. Triggering cue points and reloop will align with the beat grid so that you always be in time with the track. And that's what if you don't have this on, and most likely, and this is where this may apply. If you're trying to mix music that's played live, especially something in the 80s 70s or whatever, where they didn't have digital quantize like what they do now, then it's going to shift off the beat grid will lose its place as for where that track is. So you have that quantize on, and it kind of fits it, and it snaps the beat to where it needs to be on the beat grid. So let's put quantize on there too. All right. So like I said, if you're mixing something and it's gonna be the blend is gonna be long, then you may want to have your quantize on, unless you're just gonna be watching it constantly, or that the music doesn't shift or the tempo doesn't do a dramatic change to where you won't notice what's going on. All right, so that's quantize. And right here, you got this display modes. You got several different display modes. You got, let's see, 1 2 3. You got four different modes that you can use. Now, if you're a person that started off using Scratch Live, this right here, vertical mode, is the mode that you started off with, where your display modes is mostly the difference is your waveforms, and this is where your waveforms at right here with vertical mode. And let me see if I can go back to that other track. Let me go to this track because I think this track and I can detect it. As you can see, it's going vertical. And the same thing also goes for the other side. If I load the track to the other side and I'm gonna turn it down. And like I said, it runs vertically up and down. Some people like this mode, some people don't like it. And the reason why is because it doesn't give you enough time to see what you have coming ahead. Because the bar right here in the middle is your actual timeline. Everything right at this bar is what you actually hear after it passes this point. Anything below this bar is coming ahead. Anything above this bar has already played. Now, by changing it over, and I'm just going to change it over so you can see the different modes. Vertical mode, if you're used to Scratch Live, you won't have no problem with vertical mode. You have horizontal mode, which gives you both tracks side by side, and it also adds in where the tracks are synced together in the middle. Like right now, the tracks are not synced. In order for me to sync it, let's see where we at. So I'm gonna let this one play a little bit more, then I'm gonna catch up to it. But anyway, that middle one, as you can see, I've stopped two of them on there, and let's see, 39 seconds. Yep, it's coming up. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna let it go. You see right here in the pink, and I'll describe what that means in a minute. If I can hit the timing on it right. Well, that's close for a keypad. There we go. Or nope, that's even off. What I do? I must click something somewhere. There we go. As you can see, everything right here is in sync. It's slightly off a little bit, but close enough. Oh, now I messed it up. Well, anyway, that's close enough. So that is horizontal mode. This one is extended, which it shifts all your controls up to the top of the screen, and it gives you more screen to prepare for what's coming on the left before you get to the time bar, which is right here, where everything after this point is being played. This is your real time after you get to this bar. When you get to this bar, and was that? I think that was the last one. Oh, and then you have library mode, which I don't know a lot of people that uses this. I mean, if you're a person that was in the vinyl age, then yeah, you could probably use this if you're using it like vinyl. So if you're using it in a different mode, like absolute or whatever, then you could use this. But what this does right here, what this does, it takes away your waveforms, but it gives you more access to your library, which is library mode. So let's go back to that one. W to stop left, S to stop right, and that's it for that. Now moving across, you have your record buttons. If you're going to record into Serato, then you make sure you hit your record buttons. Now, when recording in Serato, um, if you have a microphone connected to your hardware, it doesn't record your microphone. So the best way to record your mic is to use an outbound, either use an outbound mixer, a line mixer, have it connected, and then have that line mixer connected into a laptop or whatever and record from there using Audacity, Ableton, Pro Tools, whatever, or you can use actual hardware recorder and record into it, but have your mic connected into it. Or you could have your mic connected into your laptop. If you're using like OBS or whatever, then you use your mic from there. The only thing it doesn't record your mics, and it will not record any streaming service that you're using. So if you're using Beatport, Tidal, Mixcloud, anything like that, you can't record your mixes there. But here is your recording panel right here, where you can record the mix. If you're doing video, you can record a video mix. And then this is your location where you set to where you want it to be saved. This is your level adjust. This is your level meter, which you also want to check your level meter here and your level meter on your hardware, because sometimes it can be inaccurate. This is your record button to start. This is your timer, and I think that if I remember right, it will record up to 3 hours at one time, and then it will, if I remember right, it will break off or it will auto clip. to a new track, or it may even start. And then right here will be the name of your track, and then you hit save. So you start off recording, you would hit record, and I probably can't do it right now because I don't have any. Okay, then you need to set your location, and I'm not going to do all that. Let's go out of that. All right, this is where it's asking for my location. I will set my location, which I'm a cancel, and see, I can choose the location there, but since I've never used it, it's asking me the first time. If I want to change the location, save to a flash drive or external drive or whatever, then I would change the location. And then once you do that, you would title, you would name your track, blah, 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 blah. And then I think you hit save. Okay, this is after. Then you hit record. Then your track is ready to record. And I'm not for sure if it starts. Okay, yep, it starts right then. You start and stop it here, and then you click on save in order to save it. Record without again, click again to re-record without saving. To save, according to this, file name, save, blah, blah, blah. You can quickly load the recording to your deck using keyboard shortcuts. So if you're making something that you want to play in either in your deck or you want to play into what is it called? Okay, you can take the panel off. Oh man, what is the thing called? Well, anyway, you can have it to play where you want it. So that's record. All right. Next is effects. I'm not gonna go into this, but this is gonna be for another week, and I'm gonna jot that one down too, even though I know I have it, but this will have me to split up everything as for where it should be. So these are your effects, and you got a lot of settings for your effects. Your effects are located in your settings panel, and if you go to effects, these are the effects that you have. Of course, you may not have as many effects that I have. I have the wolf pack, and I think I have another one too, but you may just have the basic. And what I'm going to cover is in the future, I'm going to cover the basic and try to use each one in example. If you need more effects, you can click here. It'll take you to Serato's website and you can purchase more effects. So this is your effects panel. And what you really don't want to do, you don't want to have too many panels open to where you can't access your crates. So what most would usually do, they will have their effects, and they will have their effects. Either they'll be using the onboard effects that's on the mixer, or if they're using Serato effects, they would go ahead and set the effects how they want them, and then just have that closed, so there's no issue there. This is what the sampler. That's what I was talking about, sampler. When you're using record, when you're using record, you can also load it to your sampler. So for record, hitting Control N will, and it's going to be different on the Mac. It may be Command N, and that will start and stop your recording. And then you can load it into your sample decks, which is where I am right now. So loading stuff into your sample decks, and what sample decks are, they're like little tracks that you can play, or individual sound effects that you can play during your mix. And most of them, most of the DJs, they use like their drops, they use air horns, they use various numbers of sounds to transition from to play between transitioning from one mix to another, or just to fill in at a certain time, even with advertisements. Now you can also play full tracks. You can load up a full track into a sampler bank, and with that, on the sampler, and this is something I'm gonna cover at another time too, where you have various different stuff. This is the name of the track. This is what the waveform of the track look like. If you need sync enable for this track, you have it. This right here indicates the different various play modes of it. This is a repeat. If you want the track repeat, you can also change the pitch. And then here you got some other settings that you can do with it as well, which like I said, I'm not going to go into this right now. This is going to be another week. Now you have a total of 24 sampler banks. You have 6. This is A. Then you have B, C, and D. So you have 24. Over here, you have your output where you can have them output too. If you want it to output through main to your mix, then you will have M. If you want it to have to specific channels, then you can do that as well. And this is your master volume for your sampler deck, and you have a mute button. So that is sampler covered in another day, where I would do some sampling. And right here you have video. I don't have video registered. I do have video, and I really don't use it a whole lot. So video will be another item to use. And these items may have to be broken up into their own individual periods. So that is video, which we'll cover another day. And then right here, this button right here removes off the mixer panel. So if you don't want the mixer panel, then you can remove it. Now this is still play. This is not the performance mode where you have your hardware connected, which I'm gonna go to in just a minute. Then you have your master. This is your master output, which I turned it down. If I turn it up, and the shortcut keys. All right, and the shortcut keys. Like I said, the visual, and let me read this because there's something that's probably important in here. Visual monitor audio signals through the master output level using this meter. Audio above +3 decibels headroom, in example, in the red will trigger Serato DJ's limiter to avoid clipping. The output audio level will not increase further, although the meter will continue to show how much audio is over the limiter threshold by lighting red segments up to +9 decibels above 12 o'clock. Lit red segments indicates that the limiter is actively affecting your audio, which can degrade the quality of your sound. Keep your level out of the red is recommended at all times. So let me go back to this track, play a little bit. And as you can see, that it's in the green. If it goes into the red, then if it goes into the red, it's gonna hit the limiter. and I can force it here. This is not what you want. Now, how to prevent this is sometimes you're going to have certain tracks that's going to be at different levels. There's two ways, well, actually three ways that you can do this. Serato in the analyze will sometime adjust the gain for your track, and there's setting features that you have to go to check. That will be next week's topic. Um, you will have to go in and check that to where you want the decibels to be, but you can also adjust it manually for each deck. You can analyze it, you can adjust it manually. You can use various third-party programs like um, is it mixed in key, something like that, something in key. That's one of the programs that you can use to. That's one of the best programs that you can use to normalize your tracks to where you don't have those issues. And like you don't want this button right here, this red light flashing, and it says the limiter light. Serato DJ utilize an internal limiter, which ensures you don't go past a certain volume level. You have if you have increased the level of the track and it exceeds the limiter threshold, you will find that the audio is compressed or lowered or squashed. To fix this, simply lower the track of the gain, EQs, master volume on your hardware so your track isn't clipping. Going into the red on the hardware channel, going into the red on the hardware's channel level lights. If you need more volume, then you can increase the volume of your amplifier or your DJ mixer that it's running into. So whenever that light is active or in the red, your volume is being clipped, is being cut. You're not getting that full sound out of it. It's clipping it to keep it from going over into distortion. So that's one thing that you need to watch, because you may have various tracks that are producing at different levels. Even if it's this is at the max and this is at 12 o'clock, it may be different from one than it is for the other. And then you have your volume control here that you can adjust with that. All right, now MIDI, that will be another topic. MIDI is for certain hardware that you can use to do other features or have special functions to do in Serato. Like for example, what I'm holding right here, these are dicers. These are made by Novation. This was the game changer about 10 years ago. These are like 10 years old. Novation dicers were the game changer to where you would mount them on your turntables. They would go right over the 45 adapter slot. And with that, you were able to do things like cue points, loops, um, um, stutters, and so forth. Right now, a lot of people don't use them anymore because a lot of the newer mixers, the Pioneer mixers, the Rain mixers, they have that built into it. But I still like to use mine from time because I like to have that access right there near my hands. So MIDI, that's one thing that it does with those devices, but with the Novation dicers, it's automatic. You don't have to make any changes. The changes are already there. And real quick, so I can get me a drink because I feel myself drying out. After MIDI, you have my Serato, and this is where you want to go to register. This is where all your account information is. Once you register, it shows you what your hardware is. If you have expansion packs, it can be found, and it will also tell you what products that you purchased and that you have registered for this computer. So this is your access. Whenever you get errors down here at the bottom, you want to come here, log into your account so it can see and verify the information online. That's for Serato. And then you got your help. And they've actually changed a lot of this stuff over the time. Like what I've been using is the shortcut tool tips, or the short tool tips. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, show two tips. And whenever you hover over something, it will tell you what that means also with shortcut keys that you can use. So this stuff is very helpful if you're not familiar with Serato and you don't know a lot of the features on the GUI interface. All right, okay, and okay, this is the button to show all the shortcut keys for your left deck and your right deck, and then stuff for your library. Very useful, very important information. And then if you need support, you can go here and it'll take you to Serato's website. And then also you can type in the help box to find something that you need. And then lastly, which will be what I will cover next week, is the settings. And in the settings, you got various settings that you can change and that you can do. So that's in the settings. Now, let me take a quick break real quick. Let me reach over here and grab my drink so I can take a sip, and then we're gonna move down into the control decks. And let me make a banner on that. And then what I'm gonna do with the control decks, I'm gonna um I'm gonna balance I'm gonna balance them out. I'm gonna look and see what's the difference between the three different modes. The single play mode, the single play mode, which is this is single play mode, and then you have Serato play mode, and then when I turn on the power, you will see my range 62 will connect. So we're going to see what the difference is there. So right now, I'm just going to take a moment before I get started on that section and look at some comments, see what we got. All right. Eric says, so quantize can be used for older music where there's no drum machine. It can be, but the thing is, it most likely it will not make an accurate, it will not snap the beat grids. And that's where a lot of people they go into they go into Serato, and there's an edit function, and I'll probably get to it and show you where it is on here. I think I see it. Well, no, I probably won't see it. I'm not for sure if it's on single play and Serato play. It may be on somewhere else, but it's that's where you would edit your beat grid to where it will snap, but it probably won't snap to it automatically all the time, especially with live music where there's key changes and switch up in the beat, and where the beat may not be completely in time, or they're not using a metronome or anything. So that's some of the stuff that you have to where it won't sync. Yes. Okay, you didn't know they had. See, that's good. Even somebody that's been using it for years learned something today. Hey, I'm proud of you, man. You make me proud. Proud of you. Thank you, sir. All right, what's going on, Steven? Let's see. When did you come in? Let's see. You popped up about 10, 20 minutes ago. About 20 minutes ago. Welcome, sir. Always good to have you. All right. Everybody saying their hellos. Yep. And I'm not breaking down the acronyms or so forth for what each is. I'm gonna let people find that out because when you hear MIDI, if I said musical instrument digital interface, that will just blow somebody. What? What is that? Oh, MIDI. Oh, MIDI. Okay, I heard of MIDI. A lot of people hear what it is, but yep, MIDI that I described before, the actual term is musical instrument digital interface, in case you don't know it. See, Eric's gonna keep you on your toes. He's gonna keep you on. Well, no, he's gonna keep me on my toes, making sure that whatever information that I forget, that you know that is posted out. So I also want to say that as well. If there's something that that I may not be getting accurate, because like it took me a while to remember the sampler banks. I don't know why it was on the tip of my tongue, but it wouldn't come out. It wasn't until I found I'm like, that's it, sampler banks. That's it. Because I don't really use them that much. So all right, now Steven said to get edit to show, you have to turn on the option for sync in the settings when it's turned off. Yep, it will turn. And I'm just gonna show this real quick. And since Eric was asking about that, you go into its preferences, right? Yep, it's preferences. And you go down here and now this is Eric, what you were asking about with live music. You can try snap to beat grid and see if it will actually snap. Depending on how far that it is off, it may or it may not. If it's a small increment, it probably will, but I mean, you can try it and see what happen, and just make sure. And all this stuff I'm gonna go into next week. But this is what Stephen was saying, that in order for your quantize to work, then you would have to make changes here. If you turn your sync off, then most likely none of that it won't work accurate. So I think you have to have your sync and your smart grid on, and then also you want to make sure that your snap is also on as well. Um, yep, that was the area for that. Everything else is not relevant. All right, let me get me another sip. What else? There's something else. Oh, in case y'all haven't noticed, which I'm sure y'all have, I don't know why you shouldn't. I've gone back to wearing glasses. I don't necessarily have to use them here because with glasses in my situation, the more you wear them, it messes up your eyes to where you can't live without them. That's me and glasses. I haven't worn contacts in 20 years and glasses over 30 years. And within that time, I probably only had them maybe a few months to less than a year. And then I just stopped wearing them altogether. Now I'm not blind. I can see stuff that's in front of me. I mean, it's kind of blurry now because I've had these on for a while, trying to get used to them. But I mean, I can see stuff. Well, seeing the screen that's behind the camera which that is probably about 10 feet on the wall, and it's a 52-inch. I can see it, but since I've had these glasses on for a while, um, it's got kind of blurry. So I probably need to leave them on just for that. Once I go to sleep and wake up, I probably won't really need them as much. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me go ahead and look at the differences. So, okay, to figure out how I want to do this. All right, now, what is it on this mode that's not on this mode that won't get discussed? All right, okay, it's just less of those. Okay. Okay, I could turn that off. Okay, I think everything is about the same. Now, I think the only difference is when I start to use hardware mode, when I turn my mixer on and it connects with the hardware, that is going to be a little different. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna use the left deck on this side and explain everything here. And I shouldn't have to explain much. The only thing that I may have to explain is showing that that um you could do 4 decks and it toggles between 2 and 4 on the right side and 1 and 3. So you got odd on the left and even on the right. That's going to probably be the only difference between the two, because it's just a duplicate of both. So let's go ahead and get started on that. Go ahead, pull up my banner, and I didn't save it. All right, so now I'm gonna discuss control deck functions. And what I want to do, I want to zoom in. I'm gonna zoom in to where I can't zoom. I can't zoom on this. I'll start a cue point on this. So I can't zoom in on it unless I take myself off the screen. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started on that. I'm gonna turn on my help again. So as I clip on each one with every information it shows, I can read it off, and then I will go into it a little bit more in detail. Take this last sip. All right, now I'm gonna start top left. Like I just said a while ago, you have your odd tracks. If you have a 4-channel controller or whatever, you can play 4 tracks, or you can play 4 decks at the same time, but not at the same time. Not like constantly. You have to toggle back and forth between various decks. But you can have four that's actually playing at the same time, but in real time, you can't control them all at once unless you have four CDJs or four turntables or four controllers like the Rain 12 or whatever. You have independent controllers in order to do that. But if you're using like a actual all-in-one controller, you would have to toggle back and forth. And that's what this does right here. So make sure whenever you have an issue and something with a track is not working, make sure that you're on the right track. And so right next, we have the name of the track. This is your track information. You have your name or your title of your track. You have the artist. And that's the first two lines. To the right of it, and color coded, is your key. Now, this music key is the same key as the key that you will find in your down here in your, and it's, I can't get to it because it, that you will find in your track selections in your files. So you will have that there. Right here is your BPM. All right, let me read this so we can go through the shortcuts. Show the tempo. This shows the tempo of the current playing track in beats per minute, BPM. Reflects changes in the tempo slider movement. If your track has no analyzed BPM, the tap button will show enabling you to tap the tempo as you listen. Using the tap button is not possible if beat grids are enabled as edit grid is displayed in its place. So what that's saying is that if you don't have a BPM, if it shows tap right here, you can hit that tap or you could activate it. And here's the shortcut. The shortcut to activate the BPM tapper for the left deck is Alt Spacebar. Right deck is Alt Spacebar again. Okay, I don't get. Okay, you got to highlight it. You highlight it, and then okay. So if I want to do the left deck, which I have it highlighted, oh, gotta play it first. Right. Okay. Okay. Wait. I know I did. Turn this off. And do I need to turn off the edit? Wait. I did something wrong somewhere. Let's show that shortcut. And like I said, these tips can prove very helpful. Tap tempo. Okay, I should just be able to hit it. All right, let's try that again. All right, Alt and space bar. And I think I need to go and turn. I think I need to turn that off. I need to turn something off. Let's see. There we go. I had that turned on. So play the track. And that's if you don't have your track analyzed, and make sure that you don't have snap to beat grid on, because it won't let you do it. And that was the problem when I enabled that right there. It wouldn't let me do that. So if you ever have that problem, and watch, guys, watch. I always say this. Somebody is going to have this issue probably this week or next week. And I'm going to tag you to it when I see it. They're going to say, well, I couldn't tap my BPM. It started toggling between decks. I tried everything. And I'm like, oh, shit. I just did that Tuesday. Created the issue, found the solution, fixed it, resolved it. So, okay, I don't want to save that. So I want to hit escape to go out of it. And it did change. It wasn't 92, it was 80, it was 89 something. But it doesn't matter because this is not a track that I'm going to use anyway. This is a personal track. So, but I tell you what, let me go ahead and do it real time. Let me get it to where it was closely, because see, right now 62 is wrong, really wrong. So make sure you spend a good enough time doing this whenever you do this. And now let me mention something. I'm gonna mention something about this track, and this may this may be this may be related to what Eric said earlier about playing live with Quantize. Now, this track right here, the music itself, the beat was it was either beat juggled or it was scratched in. It wasn't played on a drum machine. It wasn't played from the original track. It was a beat that was created in real time live. So most likely the sync of this track and to have it quantized will probably be different, because it's not quantized. It's not in sync completely. It's not as if he created it on machine or MPC or some other application to where it's you can have it snapped and quantized to where the beats are accurate. So in this point with this track right here, and if you listen to it again, and I need to go down here, listen to the beat. That beat is not an actual beat. It was actually created, and I'm sure it probably was the beginning of that track that was created. Because the beat is the heart of the track. The beat determines the tempo of the whole song. So if you don't have a beat, it's hard to keep up with the track unless you either way it goes, you got to have a beat. Even if you're playing guitar, you're going to tap with your feet to get it in time or whatever. So that's one thing with this track. This is probably not right. I don't know how. Let me see. How can I get it back? It was 89 something. I think it was 89.3. But I mean, I'm really not going to worry about it because I'm spending too much time on this. So, and I did hit enter, so I saved it. So, not going to worry about it. All right, moving on. Next one is right below it is track length, and I'm gonna move across because there's some stuff I did skip. All right, this is the track length indicating how long the track is. This is the whole length of the track. The track is 4 minutes, 25.67 seconds. All right, then right here that you don't see because I closed it out is edit beat grid. So I need to go back into settings, snap the grid, and now you see this is what you're looking for, Eric. I think this is what you want to do. You could to where you edit the beat grid. And let me read it so we can go in depth with a little bit more. Clicking the grid edit button on the deck info display opens the beat grid editor. This is where you can adjust for any errors that may have happened during file analysis. In this beat grid editor, the virtual decks will be replaced by edit options, and a blue bar appears above or besides the waveforms. So to enter the beat grid editor, you hit Alt and space bar, and that's what I was doing there. When I was trying to when I was trying to do when I was trying to do and that may be an issue that somebody may run into. They may be trying to do a beat edit, but they may have that function unchecked. They may have this here unchecked to where they can't do it, or vice versa. They might be trying to do like what I was doing. They may be trying to tap the tempo, but they have it checked and it toggles. So that keyboard shortcut does the same. So Alt and space bar, as you can see, is toggling between the beat grid edit for each deck. All right, now going into that real quick, you have an off button. You have your sync, which I'm not going to go into that. Sync is like, well, no, let's go into sync because there was a question that came up about sync. All right, off press once to disengage the sync and remain in relative pitch or relative mode. Using Smart Sync, press a second time to return to absolute tempo as represented on your hardware pitch slider. This can usually be done on your hardware by pushing shift and sync twice. All right, let's try that. Push shift. Okay, now I have it sync. Turn it off. If I push it by itself with no shift, I think it just turned on that one. I have to turn this one off too. All right, now let me just push it. I'm pushing sync by itself with no shift. Okay, it does the same thing. All right. All right, so this can usually be done on your hardware by pushing shift. Oh, okay, on the hardware. So on the mixer or your controller. Like my mixer doesn't have the 62 doesn't have a sync button, but controllers like the NS7 and other Pioneer controllers does because they're all in one unit. So that's where that was built in. So finding the shift button that you have on that controller and pushing the sync will activate what I just did that I use keys for. All right. The letter short for relativity in blue will display on virtual decks when a track tempo is relative to another playing deck's tempo, rather than reflecting the absolute position on the hardware pitch slider. All right, hope y'all understand that because I would have to read it again to understand. Let's see. In blue, be displayed on the virtual decks when a track tempo to another plane. I would have to see that in action. Like I said, I don't mess with sync that much. I played with it once and actually train wreck with just sync. So that's not something that I would jump into. All right, so moving along. All right, sync. And sync is a lot. All right. Sync preferences are found in DJ preferences tab in the setup screen. That's where I went to earlier. BPMs are required for simple and smart sync. Beat grids are required for smart sync and some of sync simple syncs options. To remove sync feature from the main screen, tick the sync off option in the setup screen. So you can turn your sync off. All right, simple sync. This is the default sync option. It's available for controllers at all times, but only in internal and relative mode when using vinyl and CDs. Now, if you don't have a controller that has if you don't have a controller that has the option to connect turntables and run DVS mode, then you're only going to have these two options. Or, well, you would, but you won't. All right, press sync in simple sync mode will match both BPM values and transients of the sync of your tracks together. If you have the simple sync option, snap to beat grid enable, tracks will align beat grid when sync is pressed. That's with simple sync. Smart sync. This sync option is available for controllers at all times as well, but only in internal and relative mode, same as the other one, when using vinyl or CDs. Accurate beat grids are recommended for this sync mode. See edit beat grids for further information. Now, if you're using smart sync, then you want to make sure that your beat grids are accurate. So if you have to go in and edit them to make them more accurate, then you want to do that. Otherwise, it's gonna throw it all off and you can get a train wreck. The first sync press sets the master deck. The second sync press on another deck matches the BPM and track beat grid. So pressing pressing the first sync button starts the process. The second press on the other deck, it matches the BPM at that time. And from what I found out when you try that, all right, let's turn it off for a second and turn off edit. And right now, I can't just wait. No. All right, I'm just gonna adjust the pitch on this one and start a sync. As you can see, what happened. This deck right here automatically adjusts to this one. So when I play, ooh, that sounds horrible. Now, all that did, it made one track automatically jump to the pitch to where I didn't have to adjust the pitch for the second track. So that can be useful when you're doing multiple tracks. So if you're running like a 4 and 3, you can have tracks that's synced together while you do stuff on 1 and 2. But right now, probably won't be nothing that I mess with a whole lot. So let's get back into um, that since I did a demo there. All right, and let's see, where did I stop? All right, adjusting the platter or the playhead while the track has full smart sync engaged, blue sync button. We'll put the deck into tempo sync, yellow sync button. Tempo sync means that the track BPM values are aligned, but the phase position of the beat grids are no longer aligned. Press the sync again will re-enable full smart sync. Pressing the sync off button on any deck will put the deck into relative pitch mode. The deck will no longer be in sync, but will retain its BPM value, disregarding the true position of the pitch slider on the turntable, controller, or CDJ. Sync armed Sync arm is indicated by a gray sync button. When using Smart Sync, you can arm a track by playing sync on a deck while the track is paused. Pressing the play button will start playback and automatically align the track beat grid and phase with other tracks playing. Now, I'm going to add sync to my list because there may be some advantages to this sync that people are not seeing. So I'm looking to explore that option. All right, moving on. These are, let's see, those are the standard. Those are not anything new. This is to load and load a previous track, which Alt Q and Alt A changes that. And I'm getting hit by private messages. Okay, skip that. I'll go later. Alt Q and Alt A. So hitting those buttons will load a previous track. Then you got play, which again I said is W and S. WS, and then if you want to play in reverse, which is called what is it called? What is it called? I forgot what the function what the button is called if you play in reverse. It's somebody toss it out there to me. I know somebody know it. I can't remember what it's called. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't see it. All right, it'll come to me later. Trust me, it'll come to me later. And then you have markers that you can set. Where's my cursor? All right, here we go. All right, you got beat markers that you can set to set markers down on the beat. And I'm gonna just skip through all this stuff. I don't want to blow through all this stuff and then end up talking it again. But anyway, all this stuff is related to what you're gonna use to set your beat grid in for to use to sync. All this is related to editing your grid. And what I mean by editing your grid is editing this right here. See right here, there's a 1 right here, and those are your bars. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's where you edit it. Now, if I wanted to find I can find where this is easily, but I haven't edited. So how did I get this on again? Oh, I got to go into edit. And as you can see, that bar is here. So I was close to it. 5, 2. All right, let's find out. 5, 4. Okay, where's 6? Okay, that has been edited completely different. All right, I'm done with that because sync it can be complicated if you don't have tracks that are quantized. Having stuff that's quantized will keep everything in order. If you, like I said, if you have like live instruments playing from like the artists from like the 70s, 80s, maybe even further back, or even some artists now that may play like live. And even if they play to a metronome, it can be off sometimes. So um having that feature can be difficult. So let's go ahead and move on from that point. All right, next, key lock. Key lock. Now, having your key lock, it does well exactly what it says. It locks your key. Enabling key lock means the song will keep its key when the tempo of the song is changed. So it prevents it from sounding all squirrely or whatever, or dragging, where the key stays the same no matter what you adjust the pitch to. All right, and let's do a sample of that. I'm gonna turn it on, turn the help off. Wish there was a shortcut to turn the help on and off. That's one thing. All right, let me put that down. And this is what I'm jotting down for Serato. So I'm gonna play this with the key lock on, and then I'm gonna turn the key lock off, and I'm gonna adjust the pitch while that's going. So let's go. As, Now let's turn it off. As you can see, it keeps the key in place without having to get either high pitch or to go down too low. So you may want to keep that on to keep your track sounding. I thought you can double click on that to make it go back to 0, but that wasn't it. Sure, there's a shortcut for it, but I just haven't. All right, not gonna worry about it. All right, next step. All right, slip mode. I have not used this one yet. This one will be into another. This will be on Serato 202 or 102, which will be the advanced. Now, if I remember right, slip mode is where you can you can manipulate the track, and when you let it go, it goes back to its original low. It starts off where it would originally left off if you hadn't done anything to it, as if it had played the whole time. And then when you let it go, it returns to its current position of where it would have been playing in real time. And let me make sure if I'm right on that. When slip mode is activated, you can manipulate the audio as normal. Example, scratching, looping, triggering cue points, etc., etc. However, once you have finished, playback position is returned to where it would be if you had not manipulated the audio. So basically, in where if you're mixing something and you wanted to snap back to where it would be as if you hadn't touched it, then you will have slip mode on. And I'm gonna put that down as for um I'm gonna put that down as for something I may want to play with in the future. Slip mode. All right, then you have your track gain, and you have shortcut keys for that. And then your fader gain for that is always high. So you want this always up and always at 12. If it's causing your master and your limiter to peak, then you want to cut it down. Now, as for whether it saves it after you go out of that track, I'm not for sure. Um, reset auto gain. Okay, there's shortcut keys to where you can make adjustments, but I'm not for sure whether that is actually saved once you leave out of that track. All right, let's go because I want to go into the deck part last. This is your eject button. To eject the track, hit Alt Shift and left arrow. To eject the left, Alt Shift and right. To eject the right. Now, if you're just doing shift and left, that will load a track to the left. Shift and right will load to the right. So all you're doing to eject from load, you're just adding the alt. And there is okay. I just lost my battery fell out. And that's what I just did. Let me. How do I do doubles? All right. Can remember how to do instant doubles on. All right, let's see it. Oh no, 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 no. That's right. Can remember the instant double button for let's see. Sensor button. That's it. Sensor. That's what it is. It was on the tip of my tongue. I just couldn't get it off. Steven had it right. The reverse button, if you do play and reverse, is called sensor. So I'm gonna do the sensor for the right deck, which will be Q, the first letter. Q double. Now let me add something here as well. Now I'm gonna turn the slip mode on. Now, if you notice when I do that, when I do it in reverse, of course it stops it from playing in real time. Now, if you're making a clean track and you're using the sensor button in order to make that clean, whenever you reverse it back, it continues from that point on. It doesn't continue in the actual track where it should be. Now, if you turn the slip on and then also do that, it's going to put the track right back to where it is in real time. So let's try that again. Uh, Play. So that right there is example of slip mode and also sensor mode. Thanks, Steven, for getting that out. Yep, Q is reverse. Sensor button. Oh, so y'all can't hear this. Wait, so I'm playing this and nobody can't hear the sound? Let me know if can y'all actually hear the sound or is that just all right, hold on. Let me make sure uh because nobody hadn't or are you just stating? Because if anything, you should hear the sound. It's probably playing out the speakers into my mic. So that right there, if you was able to hear, okay, okay. He said no. Okay, he said no sound. So I'm thinking like I've been playing stuff the whole time, but there is nobody can hear any music. So like I said, that is an example using slip mode. So I can go ahead and cancel. I'll do it again later on. Slip mode and sensor to where if you're doing a edit, if you're doing an edit where you say if you're cleaning up a track, if you don't have slip mode on, when you hit Q or when you hit A, depending on which deck that you're using, to change the reverse the track when you jump back, it's going to continue to where it is. You don't want it to continue from the point when you start to play again. You want it to continue further in the track. So basically in your mind, you need to be hearing the track to know where you need to jump. If you're just doing a curse word, if you're just blurring out a word that you don't need in the track, you're gonna only do that part of the word and then hit back so it continues on. But if you don't have the slip on, you hit it in reverse, and then when you play it back, guess what? It's still going to play that word. It didn't take the word out. So you would need slip on so it jumps ahead of that word and put itself back in line with the track. But then you also need to make sure that your timing is right where it needs to be. So using using slip with I don't know, I guess only if you're actually like scratching, if you're scratching in a track and you want to keep your scratch in that time to where everything after that is playing, then you would have it off. But if you want it to be where the track continues while you holding it down, then you would have it on. So I guess that's the difference there. All right, now I mentioned eject. Let's see, what is this? Okay, wait a minute. Okay, now I'm getting confused because there is a sensor button here. I know. Well, you can see. There's a sensor button, and then there's also the play reverse. So scrap everything that I just said about the play reverse. The play reverse you can use as a sensor, or there are some tracks to where, yeah, the NS7 has a button. That's where I remember it from because the NS7, well, it doesn't have. It has a toggle. It has a toggle switch. It has a toggle switch, that a momentary toggle switch that you can switch, and it blurs out the word. You hold it, then you let it go, and then it comes back. That is this right here, sensor. Sensor reverse the track while being held down. When sensor is released, the track will continue as if the sensor had not been pressed. This can be used to cover up explicit language in a song. Now, what I just did with slip and the reverse is about the same. Well, it's probably exactly about the same. If I play the track and do it with just the sensor, it would be about the same. Except I'm just doing one thing. What happened to it? Okay. Yeah, that does about the same thing. So basically, you could do it either way. But I guess, and I forgot that they had a sensor button on here, but I knew that you can play tracks in reverse. And there are some tracks, like if you play like Paul Revere, Beastie Boys, Paul Revere is a song that's played in reverse. The normal of the song is played in reverse. But if you play the song in reverse, it will play like an actual it will play like an actual drum track. So that's the only case that I can think of that you would probably play backwards or whatever. But if you have a track to where you can do it like that, then the reverse can be used. But what I just did was a different method of what this button actually does, because sensor is actually that one step in that one feature, to where you're just holding down that button, or you're holding down that switch, or holding down that button on the actual controller that makes it actually do that. All right, moving ahead. All right, let's jump up here to cue points. All right, cue points. This is where cue points are being saved. Cue points are like markers that you can place on your track. Each cue point is indicated with a time and a color. The colors will be shown here on your in your cue point grid, or your cue point section, and where you marked it on your track. So let's move ahead. This white marker is my time, my time marker. So if I want to move to where a cue point and I accidentally cluster them all together, this is the cue point for 55. So if I hit this button, that is the cue point for that. Now, the cue points is a very important and very crucial part of most DJs set. You could use them in various different ways, from setting up the beginning point of a track to where, if, say for instance, if you have space in front of the track, and I don't know why I'm not doing this on screen. Okay, I lost my screen share. And I forgot that I wasn't doing my screen share. Okay, there we go. All right, like I said, right now we're on the cue points. A lot of you guys know about cue points and triggers. Um, Cue points is where you can set a marker on your track and be able to jump to that point instantly just by hitting a button. Now, your cue points are marked by colors, and the time is for where it's located. You can actually change that time. I don't know why you would, but if you want to get more accurate, you can. But what I would suggest, if you wanted to, and I'm going to delete all of these, and I'm going to create new cue points. This is, let's start from the beginning. I'm off. Now I'm going to use cue point. As you can see, I did this cue point in real time and I'm off. It should have been right here. So you could just you could just go in, and if you move to the beginning point that you want to do, I want it to be the first cue point, which is red. So I would hit the one key, and boom, my grid is, or my cue point is right there at the beginning. Now I tried to do it again with the second one. I think I was off on that one too. Yep, I was off. So I would go and delete it. And this is to make your cue points accurate. I mean, sometimes you can hit it on time if you're listening to it very closely. Okay, what happened? All right, so let me let it play. And set my second one, which is orange right there. And did I get the third one? I was slightly off on that one too. Wasn't really listening. So, and this is just example. That's just me playing around. I just put a cue point at the beginning point for each, and they don't sound the same. So I can scrap that. But cue points can be used to mark the beginning of the track. Like if you have talking or the intro of the track doesn't start with a beat, then let's do 4. All right. So this is the beginning of the track right here. So if I want to mix, then when I load my track up, I would hit 4 and boom, it's right there where I want to start it. And you can go in and set it manually, or if you have good timing, you can hit it in. Now, another thing that a lot of um, advanced DJs do, they use cue points to play, as in like drum pads or real time. And what they do, they will have maybe red to be the kick, orange to be the snare, blue to be a hi-hat. You would have each one to be a certain instrument, and you would tap those pads and it will play the sound at that location. So, okay. So at that time, everything is playing. You can play it in real time. And what's the method that they call that? Oh man, why am I forget stuff so much? Oh goodness. Simple stuff I'm forgetting is something play. Help me out, Steven. Somebody out there. Um, blank play. Anyway, somebody mentioned it. I'll remember it. But anyway, Q points can be used for that. Most of the newer features on mixers right now have the pads to where you can do this, your hot cues, and a lot more. Um, and let's go back to the tool tips. And I almost had the word on the tip of my tongue. All right, let's see. What does it say about these cue points? Okay, cue point start time. The time a set the time a set cue point is placed along your track. Double click this area to add. Okay, this is where you can change the name. So you could say this is point 1 and point 2. Yep. And you can make it whatever you want to. Now, on various tracks, I would say do this, especially if you're doing like if you're doing a pre-recorded set or whatever. And that way you can jump to various parts of the song whenever you want to. Like if this was the bridge, you can call this one the bridge. You can call this one breakdown. And maybe this one you can call it a loop, to where you can loop it into an instrumental. And it could be a point, maybe at the point where there's no singing, there's just music that's played, but there's a position in there long enough to where you can make it a loop and create that song into an instrumental where you can use it for both. But there's a whole bunch of things that you can do, and there's more things that people are coming out with in order to do this. But that right there allows you to change the name. And I want to delete all that because this is all incorrect. And with in the past, or when the version started, you only had 8 pads to work with. Now it's up to 4. Excuse me, it's up to 8. You have 8 pads that you can work with. And this is 8 pads per deck. So you could get a lot done, or you can add a lot to it. You can have it to where where you want to jump into various tracks can be the top, and then in the bottom you can have it to where you have individual sounds, to where either you're playing the sound of another song, you're playing another song, and it just roll right back off the. Yeah. Why I cannot remember that. Anyway, I need to move on. So next is this feature. Which one is this? This is the looping feature. It should be a looping feature. And the looping feature is where you create loops. For each one, you can you create a start time here, and I'm gonna need a different. I need a song where what do I have that will not get me in trouble? Do I have any blues? If I had blues, let me see if I have any blues. All right, this might let me go by. And I don't have that drive connected. Well, nope, that drive should be connected. Trying to look for something I can play. All right, let me go back into this crate. Let's see this one. I just created a cue point. Now I need to create a loop. And whenever you create a loop, you can create a loop where you creating it automatically, or as for the time, or you can do it manually. You always have to do your in. So your in is going to be your start time of your loop, and your out is going to be where you cut it off. Now, that's if you're doing a manual loop. And then that can indicate, these right here are indicated in bars. You got from 1/8 to 16 bars. If you're doing it manually, you're going to punch in and you're going to punch out. And if you're doing automatic, then when you punch in, it's going to indicate whatever amount of bars that you have it. So let's see. Let's try it with an in and out. Try it with a manual. Oh, I hit it too soon. Oh, no. May not be the best song to use. All right, let's see. Mm-mm. That was a little bit off. And you can go in. Yeah, that one was a bad one. That was off a little bit. Mm. There we go. Ah, that's close. I could change the values of it. I can cut that in half, or I can take it. I can do, if I want to double it and make it longer. That's if I want to make it, or if I want to make it shorter. All right, so loops, like I said, you can do it either manually, like what I did, which it takes much practice to do in order to get it right. But you can always go back and clean it up. You can make it shorter, you can make it longer, however you want to by cleaning it up. And let's see what is. So now in that, you can do a lot of stuff. Let's go back to the tool tips so you can see exactly what it is. Now, that was cue points. This is manual loops. Manual loop, this is your slot for your loops. This is your loops, turn it on and off. And see right here, I have this loop saved. So I can jump back to this loop by going to that specific point on my pad. Um, what else? This is if you want to lock, you can lock your loop to keep it from accidentally getting deleted. Now, your loops, your loops are saved in your underscore Serato folder. If you go back to was it the last one, the last video I think that I mentioned about the underscore Serato folder? Yeah, it was, with your crates. This information is stored into a folder inside of there. So if you delete that crate, I mean, if you delete that, excuse me, if you delete that file, then you delete this information as well. So you only want to do it if you need to, but it creates a backup only if you have that box checked. So whenever you close out the program, make sure that you have this selected so it will create a backup. If you have it unchecked and hit yes, then it will not save a backup. So make sure that you have it selected. Go back. All right, so these are these are your hot cues. These are your loops. These are your time values inside of that. And you got from 1/16 to 32 bars that it will play out. So the shorter, the quicker, you're going to have the sound, and you only use this momentarily, The longer is where you can create like instrumentals, talk over tracks, and also beats for doing blends and mixes. All right, so you have your in, your loop in, and then those are your shortcuts, and your out you have shortcuts. All right, this is the reloop to jump to the start point and activate the loop. So if you want to jump back to that point, then you will have you will hit that. And this right here turns your loop on and off. This right here, it it well it creates it goes half the length of the loop. This one goes twice or double the length of the loop. And okay, this is okay. That's to go up and down between the slots, and you have each one for that. All right, and I'm going to go into loops later on. That's another thing. Put Q. And nobody having wordplay. That's it. That's it. Wordplay. Wordplay is where you are creating a beat for a song. You're taking a track and you're chopping it up. You're using the instruments from it, and you're playing another track that you're about to bring in. That's it. Wordplay. That's what it's called. I knew it had play at the end. I just couldn't think of. I haven't been mentioning it in a while, so it wasn't on the tip of my tongue. All right. So cue points and loops. I'll go into that more in next week. Probably. I'm for sure these two at the same time. All right. The next one you have your tempo slider, which is an important thing to use, whether you're using controller or mixer or turntables or whatever. If you're using internal mode or if you're using a mode where you're not using hardware, then this is something that you need to know, especially if you're doing blends. And the shortcuts for that is for left, E is up, R is down. So, and wait, that is it should be tempo slot. Okay, that was right. That was right. As you can see, my BPMs is going up, and now I can get it back to 0. And then the keys right below it, D and F is for the right deck. So look at the well, I don't have anything loaded at the right deck, but you can look and see which ones that I'm pushing, and that will help you get your pitch. And this is not exactly your pitch on your controllers or your turntables. This is the pitch inside the unit. They operate independently. All right, so now one thing to make note: whenever you make adjustments, it also make adjustments. It also changes. It also make a changes to your waveform. Your waveforms either expand or decrease depending on how much pitch that you added to it. And range by clicking this, you could toggle between 8, 16, and 50% of the range. And you'll see this right here. It shows right here in your deck. If you look right there inside the circle, it's at 50, it's at 8, it's at 16. You usually want to try to keep it at 8 because it gives you a wider it gives you a more accurate range. When you crease it up to 16, it becomes difficult to try to keep a pitch because you expanding it so far. You expanding it out of where the key lock may be able to keep control of it. So usually 8, which is what normally turntables will have, about 8% or positive or 8% is what it actually is. It's in percentage that where you want to have it. That's it for that. Other than right here on the virtual deck. Now on the virtual deck, and it's okay. Let me just read this information, then we jump back to it. All right, on the virtual deck. All right, you can drag your tracks and load them onto there, or you could use the shortcut key. Shift right arrow for left, shift left arrow for left, shift right arrow for right deck. All right, the BPMs, it shows the tempo of the current playing track in beats per minute. Reflect changes in tempo slider movement. Reflects changes in tempo slider movement. If the track has no analyzed BPM, the tap button will show. Enable you to tap in the tempo as you listen. Using the tap button is using the tap button is not possible if beat grids are enabled as edit grid and displayed in its place. Now we went through that earlier where I was trying to create or tap a beat in, but I couldn't because I had I had it enabled in the settings. Now, tempo adjustment percentage, that shows the percentage. Okay, I can't move it down and keep it in place. All right, shows the percentage difference between the current tempo and the original track tempo. All right, now tempo adjust range is what I just showed. When I click the range, it does either 8%, 16%, or 50% when changing the tempo slider and also changing the range. Now the left time shows how much track has already been played. Remaining time shows how much time is left before the track is about to end. The platter position indicator, one full rotation, corresponds in one rotation of the platter. This is particularly useful for beat juggling. Track progress indicator. The band around the outside of the virtual deck shows the position within the track. It can be configured in the setup screen to track when it can be configured in the setup screen to flash when the track is about to end. Is that relative mode? Wait, let me see. Okay, I guess that's relative mode. Letters REL in blue displayed when track tempo is relative to other playing tempo track deck relative to other playing deck tempo. This mode now reflects the movement on the software, but will not reflect the absolute tempo position on your hardware. To reset tempo slider to absolute tempo, you can either load the track again once sync has been disabled or double click the off button next to sync on that virtual deck. You can also hold shift to disable the tempo slider temporarily. You can then move the tempo up or down, reposition it back to any position to suit your needs. And then you have your shortcuts. All right, now what did it say? All right, let's turn this off. Okay, I got edit. I got the edit grid, so it won't let me do it. Let me try it over here on this one. Okay, so I got to load a track. All right, so this is and that's where right there where it says it. And let me move that relative. All right, now, um, that is everything. And like I said, the only difference is that this one is decks 1 through 3, and this one is even 2 through 4. That's the only difference between each side is that you can play decks 2 or 4 from this side or 1 through 3 on this side. But you can't play 1 and 3 at the same time. You have to toggle between each. But you can play up to 4 decks at one time. Actually, you can play more. If you can play 4 decks, and if you skilled, you can play stuff in the sampler banks. Now, I haven't seen that possible to where somebody played 4 decks, had something playing in the sampler bank at the same time. Usually 3 decks is probably about the most. I've seen DJ Angelo, he did 4 decks at one time. Outstanding. But that's it right now. I'm about to turn on the mixer, and then we're gonna see it connected with hardware. Right now, this is in Serato Play. This is in single play mode. So, all right, we're gonna see what the difference is. Of course, the mixer part is gonna disappear. So let me just go ahead and take that off. So we'll see what the difference is. All right, I'm gonna tell you another thing that's gonna disappear, the analyze. This is gonna disappear, and I think files is gonna disappear too. All right, 3, 2, 1. And I think I have this one connected. Okay. Okay. Y'all should be able to hear me now. All right. You should be able to hear me now. I mean, testing 1 2, test 1 2, test 1 2, testing 1 2, test 1 2, test 1 2. Yep. Here's the thing that happened, and I think it's going to happen again when. Oh, okay. I know. Here's the okay. I know. Okay. Here's the thing that happened, and let me make sure that y'all can hear me before I say anything else. Nope, you can't hear me. All right. Let's see if you can hear me now. Move the record a little bit. Checking it in real time. Nope, you can't hear me. Checking it in real time. Okay, yeah, you can't hear me. I'm just gonna keep this down. This is what happened when I turned the mixer on. It became the sound device for StreamYard. So the mixer, I don't know what channel that it was, and there's like several channels listed. It showed up when I went to check the sound because it muted too, and I didn't mute it. But when I went to check the audio for the mic was listed as multi-channel range 62, and that's listed as a default. And I don't know why that's listed as a default. And now I got like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, maybe more. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. I got 9 selections that showed up listed for range 62, from default multi-channel to communication multi-channel, and then there's one for each line or channel. Lines 1 and 2, lines 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12. And what it did, it selected itself as one of those channels. So when I played back, you only heard that channel that I played, but you couldn't hear the mic because the mic wasn't feeding out either. Let me make sure that y'all can hear me. Indicate if you can hear me. Wasn't feeding out either. Let me make sure that y'all can hear me. Indicate if you can hear me. Wasn't feeding out either. Let me make sure that y'all can hear me. Indicate if you can hear me. Test, test, testing, test, 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 testing, testing, test, test, 1, 2, test, test, testing, testing, 1, 2, test, test, testing, test, 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 test. All right, let's see. Turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. All right, let's see. Turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. All right, turn it off. Testing, test, 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 test. Testing, 1, 2, testing. Can y'all hear me? Test, test, 1, 2, test, test, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2, test. Test, 1, 2. Test, test, test. Should be back. I just turned off the damn mixer. All right, let's see if I'm back. Waiting for it to catch in the stream. Test, test. Okay. Should be back. I just turned off the damn mixer. All right, let's see if I'm back. Waiting for it to catch in the stream. Okay. Should be back. I just turned off the damn mixer. All right, let's see. All right, hold on. I can get rid of it. I can get rid of it. All right, I'm back. You guys should hear me. No reverb or whatever. I had to turn the mixer off, leaving the mixer on. Connected all sorts of channels from that mixer, so I had to leave it off in order for that. And so I don't know. Well, the only thing that I noticed difference between Serato Play and, well, the last thing that I'm leaving off, the only difference between Serato Play and actual hardware mode is your decks, where you have Absolute, which Absolute is like a vinyl only type. If you're using the needle, you can't use it with anything but needles because it needs a needle in order to track the position. It it finds the markers or the points where you move with the needle. So it's more for like if you want to play if you want to play on control vinyl, but actually like real vinyl, where your needle can skip, you can you can move around to the track by using the needle, and various stuff with the effects of doing vinyl. Then that's absolute mode. Then you have relativity mode. Relativity mode is taking away the vinyl concept of it. You can you can hit the platter as much as you want to, bounce the needle around wherever it lands. It continues where it left off. It doesn't continue where that spot is like original vinyl, but it also does it to where you don't have to worry about noises being a disturbance. Like if you have a lot of bass in your room or in wherever you're playing, and if it makes the needle skip and bounce, it will stay in that same position without causing it will cause some disturbances, but not as much as with playing in absolute mode. And then you have internal mode. Internal mode is like no hardware. You're not using any hardware. You're doing everything from the keyboard or from the laptop. You're doing it internally inside the program. You're not using any hardware. So what I've been doing so far is internal mode. has been all internal mode with no hardware except for when I had the mixer turned on, and that's when everything went haywire. I'll try it again in a second, but basically right now at this point, I'm done. I'm gonna try it real quick and see if I can get it to stay. If not, I'm cutting it off and then we done. So let me clip it back on and see if we can get it to act right. And this is what I need to do. I'm gonna I'm gonna have it connected to another computer. So I'm gonna flip that off and I'm gonna connect it to a MacBook. All right, let me see if y'all still hear me. Let me go and check my audio settings. Okay, my audio settings are still the same. Microphone test test. Okay, you should be able to hear me now. Let me know if you hear a reverb. You shouldn't hear reverb. I don't have my audio played back in monitors, so I can't hear myself for it to reverb or whatever. But I don't know if it's reverbing inside of Serato. But the reason that you see the end use is because I have the where I had it connected into port A on the back of the mixer. I'm not using port A. I have port B connected to my MacBook. So my MacBook is connected to, and it's in use on the MacBook instead of here. But you can see you can see that it's showing it's connected, but it's not using anything here. All right. Somebody type in the comments and let me know if you can hear me. Let me see if I can listen to it on the live. Testing, testing, 1, 2, test, test, testing, testing, test, 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 test. Oh, shit. Testing, testing, test, 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 1, 2, testing, testing, 1, 2, test, test, 1, 2, test, test, testing, testing. Okay, y'all still can't hear me. Testing. Sound should be coming out. All right, let me make some. All right, guys, can you hear me? Because I'm looking at the playback of the stream and I'm not getting any audio. Testing, test, test. Testing, testing. Oh. Testing, testing. Test, test, test. Should be able to hear me now. I've disabled. Testing, testing. Test, test, test. Testing, 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 test, 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 test. Testing, testing, test, test. All right, let's what? Test, test, test. Testing. Testing, testing, testing. Okay, what did I just click on? Okay, I have my mic enabled. Got the rain disconnected. All right, hold on a second. I'll be right back. Test, test, testing, testing. And I guess y'all still can't hear me. Test, test, test. Testing, testing, test, test, test. Testing, 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 test, test. Test, test. Testing, test, test, testing. Testing. Testing, test, test, testing. Okay, y'all should be able to hear me now. I just had to turn it off. It was doing entirely too much. It was trial. Oh no, we would not be having them days ever again. I will never be going back to that version. The version that I have now works, so I will stay with that one. Um, while I had it open, the only thing was that was it. The relative, relativity, absolute, and internal modes were the only thing that changed between the differences between Serato Play and hardware mode. So that's about it. And then of course the mixer section in Serato Play disappears, or the mixer section in hardware mode disappears. So you won't have that feature anymore when you have something connected. You are hilarious. Well, I mean, I knew what the problem was. I knew the problem was the mixer, because I mean, if you saw every channel on that mixer and they were paired up by twos, like I was about to get ready to walk them onto the arc, uh, line 1 and 2, line 3 and 4, line 5 and 6, line 7, 8, 9 and 10, 11 and 12, and I need to find out what each of those channels mean, because I want to label them. I want to label them independently. I want to name them differently than, and then I even have two of them. I have some that's labeled multi-channel. And I know that let me see. You have left is one set, then right, then you have left again and right for channel B. So that's 4. And then you have a mix out, and I couldn't find the one that was for microphone. And I don't think there's one for microphone to where, because what I tried to do, I tried to go through the Shure Beta 58 mic that I have connected to the 62, and it wouldn't output either. So I just said it, the hell with it, and just left that out. But other than that, I'm finished. I'm 3 hours into this, and I think I've said enough. And actually, I probably did more than enough. And so now I'm gonna have to chop this video down to where it's at least an hour, or break it up into segments to where, okay, I was talking about this. You can jump to this tracker. You can jump to this. You can jump to this. You can jump to this. So I'm gonna have to break everything up. But anyway, I am about to wrap this up. If you guys want to join me in a few minutes, I'm about to do some stuff in the cutting room before I get ready to go to bed. I've had a hard day. Hope y'all like my glasses. because you might not be seeing me wearing them too much. They okay. They have progressive bifocals in them, but I'm better off. And see, now they're playing with my eyes. I can't even read stuff close up now. All right. But I won't be wearing them all the time. I'll probably be wearing them down here, and really I don't really need to wear them down here, but I probably will. But anyway, this is going to wrap it up. Let me turn this banner off so I will know that I'm finished this video up. I'd like to thank everybody that came in and tune and check out the show. If the damn show was too long due to the technical issues, then don't fret, because I will be making an edit version of this soon. I will be downloading this version, going in and trimming it and compressing it, adding in markers and points to where you can jump to specific stuff that I said. So I'm not even sure what we're going to do. Oh, next week is going to be settings. I'm going through all the settings panels, and we're going to talk about all the settings panels. And then once I'm done with all the settings panels, we're going to go back into the GUI interface and start playing with some of the features, some of the stuff that I've been writing down on this card right here. Like we're going to find out what the link is. I have never used the link. If anybody used the link, hit me up. Quantize, we're gonna go in quantize and play with quantize and sync, so that knock out two birds with one stone. Effects, one thing I've always wanted to do, and I'm not a good person. I don't, I mean, I grew up with vinyl, so I didn't use effects, but now since effects are available, I'm starting to get back into trying to use them. I want to go through all the basic effects, and I have a lot of them. Or, well, I got the standard ones that you get. I want to go back and try to find an example for each one, because some people, everybody like to use the echo, everybody like to use the delay, everybody like to use the reverb. But what about all the stuff like the, what is it, the tape? I know there's a tape, I think a tape echo or something like that. Well, the LPH, the flanger, pan delay. What's one that you combo filter, distortion? Have anybody ever used all these effects? So I want to try to find out ways to where people can do different stuff with different effects. So that's going to be another week. And then, damn, I'm gonna say this one to last. Video is going to be a point on its own, because it is not that easy to do. So next week, settings, and maybe link, and I've already done slip. Link, cue points, loop. And then the week after that, quantize, sync, MIDI, and maybe effects. Put it in. It's going to probably be about another 3 or 4 more. But after next week, after we go through the settings or the setup panel, it's going to go from Serato 101 to Serato 202 or 102 to the advanced steps, to where we're going into features. But that's enough. There was a track that I shared on the zone group that had some samples in it. It was from DJ Shorty, the Shorty from UK, not the Shorty from the US. So I'm about to go and download that. If you want to join me in the cutting room, um, I will see you there. And the only way that you can join me in the cutting room, and let me mention this before I forget, This is not the DJ City cutting room. This is the cutting room. This is a room that I created on Messenger Rooms. So you would probably only see it if you're on my friends list. And it's THA the cutting CUTTIN apostrophe and then rooms. I think is how I spelled it. Capital R, capital O, capital M, capital Z. Uh Wait a minute. No, that was that Shorty from the US? I know I got two Shorties. Okay, yeah, that was Shorty from the US. I thought that was Shorty from the UK. And you saw the link. Let me go back and find it because when I found it, I was on my phone, so I didn't get a chance to download it. So I shared it to the zone so I would be able to get to it later on before it disappeared. So let me find it real quick because I need to download it. Uh, Let me find it. Let me find it. Uh, I don't even see it. There it is. I found it. Okay, that's I knew I saw it, but I didn't know which shorty that it was, and I thought it was the shorty from Scratch. What's it? Scratchtutorials.com. All right, so I am about to download that now and practice it and take it over to the group and practice it. So if you want to join in, come on in. Uh, Hit me up. Y'all know how to hit me up. You guys that's there now. Yep, Faust. Yep, they used to live here in Atlanta. I didn't get a chance to check them out, and I think you mentioned at one time that you played or opened up with Faust or something like that, right? Or no, it was Clever. I think you mentioned it Clever that you opened up for a few weeks ago. So they're both in California now. I need to find somebody. I used to have a CD with their mix on it, and I don't know what happened to it. I bought it when I moved here to Atlanta. I'm like, this shit right here is tight. And it was a new sound. I mean, coming from out of a small town in Mississippi, moving to the A, and hearing stuff that I always wanted to do. Let me move back in this. So that's what I wanted to do. Was it you? Yeah, you mentioned craze, but I think you mentioned you mentioned clever too. I think you mentioned clever because I remember being in a DJ competition. JC was in it. It was at Mars. It was at Mars Music Store. The one it wasn't the Marietta store. It was the store that was near Guitar Center, the Atlanta Guitar Center, and uh Craze was there. I mean, not Craze, but Clever came in. He was in the audience. The guys from Mars saw him come in. They asked him to be in the contest. He had no needles, no vinyl. They went in the back, got him some stuff, got him some needles, got him some vinyl. He tore it up. He tore it up. He won it. He won the whole competition, and it was um it was a Stanton it was a Stanton turntable mixer set that he won, and I'm sure he probably either sold that or gave it away, or it might be up under the bed somewhere or something like that. I'm sure it's something that he probably didn't open up and use or use at all, but he came in and tore it up, and that's you know having skills like that. You come walk in somewhere like okay, and just tear it up like that, man. It was just, and I haven't. Well, I've seen him. They had him in. If you haven't seen the Atlanta version of DJ City Cutting Room, he was in that, and I'm like, well, he's not in Atlanta no more. Why they just didn't get DJs that was here from Atlanta? I mean, they did get DJs here from Atlanta, but they like, well, he's from Atlanta. He's in LA right now, but he's still from Atlanta. So let's get him. And I think they had to fly him over, or whenever he came down, they scheduled a day or whatever. I'm like, there's a lot of other DJs here that they could have went with, but it didn't happen. But anyway, used to him in various places. If you can DJ, you can DJ. And this guy, when you can DJ and not know I'm not gonna say he didn't know the records, but he didn't need to know the records. He just needed to find what he was familiar with and work with it, and that's what he did. He, I mean, he even I thought JC had it, but nope, he just he just came in and took that. Yep, they shot at Beat Lab. It was 2 episodes, and I was actually gonna put together before when they started doing the cutting labs. I'm like, okay, they haven't done one for Atlanta. Let's do one and submit it. And I was gonna get the DJs that wanted to be in it. I had people emailing me and so forth. And we was gonna do the location at Big Lab. I was gonna talk to Mega about doing it there, whether it's inside or outside or whatever. And I'm like, we get there, record it, we'll film it just as if it was an actual event or whatever. And then when I contacted Mojax, and he said that there was somebody here in Atlanta that was doing it. He gave me the contact information, and the guy said he was working on it. So then, like 2 years passed, and nothing had happened. I had even been dropping posts and so forth, and people would contact me asking me what was going to happen. And I mean, we still may do one, unofficial one, not a DJ city, but just with the DJs or whatever, may still put something together like that, because I mean, there's a lot of skilled, talented DJs in the A that can cut. So, I'm thinking about, you guys need to let people know that, the A is where it is. So I wasn't really worried about being it myself, just just being there and maybe recording it or putting it together or whatever, just putting it together. That's all it was for me. But anyway, I'm on the site right now. I am about to get this scratch kit because I can't find all my good scratch kits, all my good sounds, because I got music everywhere. I even got a hard drive that has like close to a gig on it that's crashing, and I'm just pushing it aside and say, okay, I get to it later because I got the music on this laptop, I got the music on this drive, I got this one on that laptop. So I'm not really worried about it right now. But anyway, you guys want to join me over, moving over to the cutting room. It will be on your timeline. I'm not going to be there alone, but I'm just gonna be there for a while just to see what's this collection that she's seeing, and to practice some of this stuff. I haven't practiced in a while. Oh shit. I have to take these glasses off though. All right, so I'm signing off. This is the kid. Thank y'all for joining me. Atlanta DJ Zone Tech Tuesday Live. Join me over in the cutting room. I'm about to download this track. You want to come in, join, or whatever. You want to come in, chill, sit, talk, or whatever, and come and do so. This is the kid. See y'all next week with part 4, Serato 101. I'll talk to y'all later, and I'm out. Peace.